for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. Want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, we get to speak with Russ Avery, the sustainability marketing guy. He's an eco-entrepreneur. I'm just jumping all over my words. An ethical influencers member. And I met him through LinkedIn, Instagram, and basically all the social media. This is the new hangout spot these days. And I had interviewed one of my good friends, the authentic Alex, and Russ was like, wait, how did you know her? She's out here in London and you're out there in the US. So I was like, hey, I like what you're doing with your sustainability, and I would love to bring you on and, have a chat with you. So Avery, thanks for coming on to the podcast.
You mean Russ?
I know. What did I call you? Did I call you Avery?
Yeah.
Mr. Avery.
Thanks, Junaid. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time out. I know it's quite late where you are.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you got into the business of sustainability.
Sure. Are you ready for this? I'll try and summarize it as best as I can. So I did a degree in languages. So I did a degree in French and Russian at the University of Exeter, and I graduated in 2007 into the global recession. So that was fun. And I moved to London with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and I did what all my friends seemed to do at the time, which was float around between various different temp jobs for a couple of years. Very, very few of us went into full-time employment in something that we actually wanted to do in life. Like, that was a rarity, big time. So I was no different. I did various different things for a couple of years. And then in 2009, I took a step back and I was like, this is ridiculous. I really need to find a career and think long-term. What am I interested in? Because the problem was, you see, Junaid, I wasn't interested in using my languages, French and Russian, in a practical application. So what I mean by that is I did a degree, but I didn't want to be an interpreter, a translator, a teacher. So it was, the classic thing. So I thought, you know what? I've always been interested in sustainability, the environment, the natural world. Mm-hmm. Things are only getting bigger in that area, every year as we continue to screw up the planet even more. And I've got nothing to show for it on my CV that I'm interested in this field. So it's going to be hard to get a job in that area with nothing to show for it on my CV. So I went back to university. So I started doing a degree with the Open University, mm-hmm. which for any of you guys who aren't familiar, it's like distance learning and it's massive in the UK. It's called the Open University. And I started doing an environmental and natural sciences degree with them. And while I was studying it, I started applying for jobs. So my journey really began in 2010, which is when I started working for CWeb, which is a small, at the time it was a small ocean conservation charity, American charity actually, but they had a small office in the UK. So the head office was in DC, Washington DC, and they had a small office in London with about 4 people in it. And I was really lucky. I went for an interview there, got the job. So I was basically an admin assistant back then. So that was my entry point. And while I was there, I was really lucky. I worked with some incredible bosses who were the vice presidents of sustainable seafood and science initiatives for ocean-based projects. And they were really inspiring people to work for. And social media for business use started kind of getting quite big in 2010, 11, mm-hmm. especially Twitter, for example. And there were loads of charities and non-profits using it. And we kind of saw it and we started getting involved in it. And we we'd made a YouTube video for the Super Bowl ads one year about ocean conservation, which was pretty cool. And I volunteered basically to start doing some blogging for CWeb and some social media use.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of see where this is going. I kind of fell into marketing by mistake, and I've got social media to thank for that.
Yeah.
And I guess, my own curiosity to ask to do it.
Yeah.
I was with CWeb for 2 years. And in 2012, when my wife and I were expecting our first child, we moved outside of London to a place called Farnham, which is where we live now. And so I had to change jobs. So I started looking for a new job. And honestly, the stars kind of aligned at that point, because I found an opening with a small sustainability consultancy called Carbon Credentials, which at the time was, 5 people big. And it was based in Farnham. So it was almost a bit too good to be true. Applied for that job as their marketing manager, got the job. And then that was just an incredible journey. I was with Carbon Credentials for just over 4 years. And in that 4 years, we moved from a small startup in a shed in Farnham to a company of 50 people based on Regent Street in central London. So it was just awesome, like amazing learning curve, surrounded by great people, fantastic organization to be a part of. And we're nearly there, don't worry. And then while I was there, I got poached by a competitor, so another corporate sustainability consultancy gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to be their marketing director. And they were small as well, and the opportunity to grow them was, really appealing, and apply what I'd learned at Carbon Credentials somewhere else. So I did that. I took the job. I worked for them for 2 years, helped them grow in size. And then in Christmas last year, so Christmas, well, not the one just gone, Christmas 2017, January 2018, I took a step back and decided what the next adventure for me looks like. And it was either going to be a sideways shift, probably to another company in-house as the in-house marketing director somewhere else. Yeah. Or it was something bigger, which for me was going it alone and starting my own business. So, I decided on the latter, and that's where I am now. So, started Russ Avery Consulting in April 2018. So I'm still less than a year old, I guess.
Nice. That is, 10 months old. Very cool.
Yeah, 10 months. Yeah, there you go.
That's a really cool story. I mean, falling into marketing by accident, that's really funny. Marketing is just such an amazing thing, because you're not just talking about things that you love, but it's like you're like talking to your friends about your favorite things. It's not unfortunately, marketing and advertising looked hand in hand from the beginning, but it's not really. Marketing is not advertising.
Absolutely not.
Recently, the book came out, Seth Godin's This is Marketing, and that book is just mind-blowing. And I'm like, wow, so anything you're doing, you don't really need to market. You don't need to advertise. You just need to find your crew, your tribe. And
absolutely. So, I know it's such an obvious statement, but the internet has just been such a game changer.
It has.
For every, well, not every, but a lot of sectors and industries. But for marketing, it's just completely changed everything in some ways, but not in others, because, you've still got to tell a good story. You've still got to make the emotional connection.
You do.
But in terms of being able to reach the right kind of people with the right message, it's just completely changed. And I love it, because I have accidentally, if you liked, ended up using my language skills, being a linguist, because it's all about communication. So it's really funny the way things work out. So there's definitely a lot of luck and serendipity thrown in, that's for sure, into my story.
No, that is really, really cool. So do you still know those languages, Russian and French?
Okay, so I'm embarrassed to say that my Russian is absolutely terrible, and I basically haven't used it since I graduated in 2007. So that's 11 years ago now, which is scary.
Yeah.
and my French should be a lot better than it is because my wife is half Belgian and speaks fluent French.
Okay.
And we speak French to the kids as well to bring them up bilingual. But seriously, like we've got 3 kids now, and when we had our first, we spoke French to her a lot.
Yeah.
And as soon as number 2 arrived, it completely went out the window.
I don't know. Too much work.
It's too much work. Yeah. It's so difficult. But it's still there in terms of understanding it, but speaking it's not so strong anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I have 3 kids as well.
Oh, nice.
8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Okay, so we're very similar. Ours are 6, 4, and 1.
6, 4, and 1. Okay. Nice. Yeah. It's pretty crazy, man. And one question that I get asked more than anything at all is, can I watch TV? Dad, can I watch TV? Can I use your phone? It's tough. I mean, trying to tell them no all the time. It's like, no. Why? Because we're trying to teach them to, use more of their imagination than their imagination being controlled by what somebody else imagined.
Well, exactly.
Right?
If you're watching TV, you're watching the result of what someone else has come up with.
Exactly.
Whereas when you're reading a book, obviously you're imagining it in your head because it's only the words that are painting a picture.
Yeah.
Do you try and get the kids out into nature a lot, trying to bring it back to the sustainability side of things?
Well, what we do is my son and I, we both love to ride bicycles.
Okay, great.
I've gotten him, I'm trying to get him to train this spring and winter and spring, essentially. So when he's 9 or later this year, he could probably do some races and whatnot, but we'll see how that goes. It all depends on how much training he does. I haven't been training as much as I should have been either. It's very tough, especially, and you understand, with especially having 2-3 kids. It's like, okay, yeah,
yeah, for sure.
Like getting time out of the day, it's like, okay, and picking to work for your own self, that's what you picked, and it gives you a lot more time, right? Or does it take it away? Because
it gives you more. So something that's been one of the most interesting observations from becoming an entrepreneur and starting my own business was, look, I get that it can be the busiest, loneliest job ever, but I totally have not experienced that. Like, it doesn't need to be at all. So I have way more time to do the things that I want to do. Way more time. I'm not, for a start, I'm not commuting into London 4 days a week, for my job. So there's 8 hours a week saved.
Right there. Mm-hmm.
Straight away, yeah, 8 hours a week saved instantly. You can, very few people take their full hour that they're allowed for their lunch break, say, when they're working for a corporate, environment. There are very few companies where you can actually do that, or where people take advantage of the full hour, even if you're allowed to do it. Now I can do whatever I want on my lunch break. Right. And the point is, it doesn't even need to be a lunch break. It can be at any time of the day, because I'm only bound by client meetings, client calls. But other than that, you can do the delivery that you've got to do for those clients at a time that suits you.
Yeah.
So, if you're not feeling great one morning, it makes no difference to me, because I can work that evening, and I'm not one of these people whose brain switches off after 6 p.m. So I can actually do really productive work in the evenings, for example. Yeah. So that was definitely a good question, because I think that's been a really interesting part of my journey, is like learning what's been true about entrepreneurship and what people told me, and what's been a bit of a myth or hasn't been true for me. So the loneliness side of things, for example, I can honestly say, Junaid, I've found it less lonely in some ways than working at my last company. The amount of other freelancers, entrepreneurs, small business owners that I've met through LinkedIn, Instagram, online, offline, has been amazing. And the community is so strong.
Very strong.
And people are so generous and willing to help out and collaborate and stuff. Yeah. It's amazing. It's really only a lonely journey if you do not put yourself out there
Right.
to meet other people and to reach out to people. Like, look how we've met.
Exactly. We just randomly met through, LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram, and we're like, hey, let's make a call. Let's talk and see where this goes, because that's really what you could do. You just have to ask. And that's another great book I just started reading. That was recommended to me by Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income, because all you really got to do is just ask.
That's all it takes. It's the smallest thing, but so few people seem to do it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like how have you got some of the people you've got on your podcast? You've just asked them. It's so simple.
You want to be on the podcast?
And there'll be people out there thinking, how did Junaid manage to get whoever, like Alex Galvez or whoever? And it's like, well, I asked her.
I just asked him. And that's exactly what Mark Metry of Humans 2.0 podcast, right?
Yeah.
He's talked to some big people like Seth Godin and
huge names.
And he was just named as one of the top growing podcasts by NASDAQ.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm like, wow.
It's a phenomenal achievement. And it's funny, I reached out to Mark yesterday on LinkedIn just to say, dude, I can't believe you're 21 and like you're absolutely killing it. Everything you're doing is awesome, and just keep up the good work.
Yeah.
And another person who is making the entrepreneur's journey less lonely for people is Richard Moore. Do you know Richard?
Yes, I do.
So everything he's doing with the Entrepreneur Business Live events is getting people who, in my case, this is what the London ones were like that I've been to, were getting people who've met online or on his Facebook group or on LinkedIn some way, and getting them in a room together.
Nice. Yeah.
to meet, and it's just the simplest thing. And Richard's a master community builder, and Mark Metry's doing that in his own way through his podcast, because actually that does build a community, because he gets incredible people on there, which gets an awesome number of listeners on his podcast, and then they follow him on LinkedIn, and then you see people that in the comments, and suddenly the whole cycle. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm excited to say that he's going to be on this podcast in a couple of weeks.
Yes, nice. That is so cool. Is that a first announcement?
I think it's the first or second. I think so. I created a little Hacks and Hobbies Facebook page, and I just posted on there that we're gonna have a guest. Mark,
that's great.
On here pretty soon. So here's my little story. So I've been doing marketing. Well, have been involved in marketing from the perspective of as a graphic designer.
Ah, okay.
Right. So when I first started working, I was just creating little small advertisements for my uncle, because he had just started his business, and we were just putting these book stalls together at mosques during Friday, after Friday prayer, so people can come buy these Islamic books and whatnot. Yeah. And so I would make these flyers in Microsoft Word. And I just went into this path of designing things over and over. Then I got into web design and got into user experience design and, just design.
I love how you started designing stuff in Microsoft Word.
well, that was 1997 or 98. So there were probably Photoshop 1.0 or 2.0 around.
Yeah.
Since, Word was easily accessible to almost everybody, and it's like, okay, I guess I'm just building tables and whatnot. Like the amount of tools that are available today is so fantastic. Like you can jump on Canva. They've got these templates you can download, and all you got to do is update the text, and boom, you're good to go. And it's pretty fun.
It's nuts. I mean, people, you've got to be taking advantage of all the tools that are available to us now. You really do. There's no excuse, especially when so many of them are free.
Yes.
So I shared a guide just before Christmas on LinkedIn called the 23 creative apps that I'm using right now to create all my content for myself and my clients.
Yeah.
And I think out of the 23, pretty much 20 of them are free to use.
Yes.
And yeah, sure, sometimes they have pro versions, but otherwise apps like Canva, Over, which I use daily for Instagram posts.
So good, isn't it?
Over is Over is so underused still, I feel.
It is underused.
When I mention Over to people, they're like, "Oh, Over, I haven't heard of that one. Do you not use Canva?" And I'm like, "No, I do use Canva. But I use Canva to create ebooks and guides for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But are you not using Over yet for your social media? Are you crazy?"
What people don't realize, right, is Over is on your phone.
Yeah.
You find all those things on your phone, whereas Canva is only available on your desktop. And I am a huge proponent of building things on my iPhone. And the cover image for the podcast I designed it on Over. I found the image.
That's awesome.
I found the font that I really liked, and then I contacted Over. I was like, "Which font are you guys using? Because I want to use it on my desktop."
Amazing. I'm so happy you're a fellow Over user. That's awesome.
So,
because people I've designed stuff on Over.
Yeah.
People just don't believe me sometimes that I did it all on my iPhone sitting on the train on the way into like a meeting.
Yeah.
They're like, "No, surely not. I mean, you must have had a laptop at least." Like, no, you've got to get over now.
You got to get over. You just got to get over it to get over. No, so I did have one question about Over. Since I just have the free version. I don't have the pro version.
Okay.
How does the scheduling work on there?
Oh, interesting. It's one of the features on Over I don't use.
Okay.
So I have got the paid for version because you can save, because if you use it for clients as well as yourself, you can save color palettes, all their brand assets, their logos and stuff in it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So the paid subscription is well worth it. But interestingly, I don't use the scheduling feature yet. But it's only due to, lack of time and not having checked it out yet.
That's true. It's the time that we're not able to, use all the tools that are available. Because scheduling is something that I'm super interested in. Because I want to schedule 30 days out.
Nice.
3 to 4 posts a day on Instagram. And these are all going to be stories. So I can schedule them out, and every day I've got 3-4 stories posting on Instagram.
Oh, you're going to share them as stories as opposed to proper posts, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
But for the proper post, I just have the cover image of the podcast.
Yeah, sure.
But I want to also do the headliner versions, like a minute long audio bite, and post that on Instagram.
Oh, I like that idea. That's good. That sounds like a solid strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the podcasters that I know, his name is Justin Wynn of the Get Your Grind Up. That's exactly what they're doing. They're posting a minute long audio bite. They're also providing those minute long videos to their guests so they can post it from their own accounts.
That is the simplest thing to get extra reach. It's just so simple. If you share it with the person that you just interviewed, who 9 times out of 10 is going to have a hell of a lot more followers than you,
and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
They can swipe up and click on the link and go directly to the podcast. That's genius. So I had him on the episode, and I think 3-4 episodes ago that I published. So he's got all those tips and on that episode, and I was like, dude, this is gold. This is gold.
That's great. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So marketing, we love marketing. We love sustainability because we all got to save the earth. And I think Facebook started the "What You Look Like 10 Years Ago" challenge. The
10-year challenge. Yeah.
It's just to help their algorithm figure out what you look like.
Yeah, I read all about that.
Right, and then,
it was just it's a genius marketing move, basically.
It is. I think what somebody did is they posted the 10-year picture of the iceberg.
Was it the climate change
Climate
ones?
change ones, yes.
So yeah, great to bring that up. So basically, what happened was, because I didn't take part in the 10-year challenge myself.
Yeah, me neither.
I almost did, but to be honest, it was hard enough trying to find a picture of me 10 years ago, so I just gave up really quickly. But I thought about it. But you're right. So I started seeing loads of posts on Instagram mainly, but also a couple on LinkedIn saying, this is the real 10-year challenge.
Yeah.
Like here's the ice shelf in Antarctica or the glacier in the Himalayas 10 years ago, and here it is today, showing the receding line, front line of the ice shelf or whatever.
Yeah.
I also saw ones about like wildlife and the numbers that have decreased in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was good. There was some good sharing going on Instagram that week, that's for sure.
So you're helping sustainability agencies market themselves. Is that correct?
That is one of my groups of clients. So sustainability consultancies. So for those that are listening who don't know, so I'm working currently with, I think, 5 corporate sustainability consultancies. So those are consultancies who are helping other businesses with their environmental efforts in some way, shape or form, whether that's helping them to comply with like energy and carbon legislation, or just helping their other businesses to be more sustainable through sustainability strategies, resource use, etc.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm helping those consultancies to market themselves better. So the knock-on effect for, it may not be obvious to everyone, the knock-on effect of that is that I'm helping a sustainability consultancy to sell more of its services so that it can have a greater impact on the work that it's doing. So, they're able, by marketing themselves better, they're able to win more businesses and do more of the excellent work that they're doing, which is helping people save, millions of pounds on their energy costs every year. If you're a huge corporate real estate firm, for example, and you have loads of buildings, it's helping SMEs to be more sustainable and have more sustainable supply chains. Yeah, it's a whole range of different issues that these companies are working on, and it's just so rewarding and fulfilling to be able to do that work. And as we go into 2019, I'm looking to work with some more like environmental charities and maybe some social impact charities and stuff, because that's all sustainability as well at the end of the day. Because the companies I'm working with, it is mainly the environmental side of sustainability, but sustainability, it also has a huge social side, obviously.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We're only in January, but things are going pretty good so far.
Nice. So, one hobby that you wish you got into?
Yeah.
What is it?
You know my answer already, don't you? So I started. So it's guitar. The answer is playing electric guitar. And oh man, talk about wishing you'd started something like as a kid or whatever. I first picked up an electric guitar in maybe 2002-3. So yeah, that's right. It was on my year out between school and university. Right at the end of that year, after I'd been traveling, just before I went to university, I bought a secondhand guitar from a thrift shop. Yeah. Just on a whim. It was like £20. It came with an amp and everything, and it was an old. Yeah, it was amazing, and I just absolutely loved it. Picked it up really quickly. Just really enjoyed it. Loved playing with it. Again, the internet, you can find like guitar tabs for all your favorite songs. Like, it's so easy. You can find tutorials. There's no excuse not to be able to teach yourself, basically. And this was 15 years ago, so it was before all these new things that I see ads for, like Musician and all these new ones that look amazing. Yes. You can still find the tabs, you can still find YouTube tutorials. But getting to the point, I played a lot at uni, much to the dismay of my flatmates and stuff. Yeah. And then it started dropping off a cliff, and then I played every now and again. And then as soon as we had kids, I think my guitar never came out of its case again.
Yeah.
And you know what, Sinead, this year, one of my goals is to get it out, pick it up again, because the big difference again is the amount of time I have to myself now since I started my own business. So if I want to start playing guitar again, it's really on me to make it happen, and I definitely can, because I could play for a few hours a week, and I used to really love it. So yeah.
Nice, dude. That's awesome. What's funny is around 2003, myself, my brother, and my friends, we started a band. Well,
yes.
I didn't play any instruments, but I sang, and it was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot of fun. And then, I think I got married a few years later, and I was like, okay, it's I'm not doing that anymore.
It's me or the band.
It's me or the band, exactly, man. So, what is your favorite movie or TV show?
Oh, wow. Okay. Talk about opening up a whole can of worms. Favorite movie. It's so hard. So massive movie fan right here. First thing I ever wanted to be was an actor. Since the age of about 4 or 5, when I first saw Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Yeah. So I'll just throw these out there. They're not necessarily my favorites, but it's an impossible question. So because of nostalgia and childhood memories, so Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve. So that video, like VHS, got watched so much in our house. And the worst thing ever happened, which is that when I was about 5 years old, our house got robbed.
Oh.
And the VCR got nicked, and the tape was inside it. Yeah. And I still remember when my parents broke that news to me.
Oh.
It's like I didn't care about anything other than Superman 2 had been stolen from the VCR. I couldn't believe it.
That's a sad day.
So I love movies a lot, and I was very lucky at university. My French and Russian degree was modular, which means you could choose lots of different modules, whether it was French and Russian history, or I always chose the cinema modules. And Exeter is an amazing university for film studies.
Yeah.
So every year for both languages, I chose whichever film modules were available. So I studied a lot of French cinema, and then a year of Russian cinema as well. So I'm really into my foreign film, indie films, art house films. Yeah, I just love the movies.
If you're able to watch a movie and understand the language they're speaking,
it helps.
It helps, right? Because
so much is lost in subtitles sometimes.
I cannot understand it. People are raving about Narcos, the TV show.
Okay.
They're speaking a lot of Spanish in there.
Yeah.
The Netflix show. And so I watched probably half an episode or maybe one episode, and I was like, I can't do it because I can't focus on the imagery. I can't focus on the sun.
Right. Okay.
And I'm a huge movie buff as well. A friend of mine, he just started a podcast just to document his process of making a short film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That is an amazing reason to do a podcast, because you're documenting the entire process. Like, because my daughter, she wants to, when she grows up, she might want to do a short film because she wants to go and work for Pixar. It's like, all right,
fantastic.
That's pretty awesome. So
that's a great goal. I love it.
Yeah. So I was like, that's really awesome. Awesome, man. So playing the guitar and watching Indiana Jones and Superman 2. That's awesome.
Perfect, right?
It's perfect.
What could be better?
Now, I'm still trying to work on, the different questions that I asked toward the end, because it's a process, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're learning as well. I get it.
Mm-hmm. So I was just creating this form. I was like, what kind of questions should I ask my guests? Because I've only been guest on like two or three different podcasts. I'm like, wow, you guys got a really good plan. One gentleman I spoke with or was on his podcast was Tyler Wagner. He has the Business Blast podcast. He's also the CEO of Authors Unite. And with the podcast, he's able to do 1,000. He's done 1,000 interviews, 1,000 people in 10 months.
In 10 months?
In 10 months. And I asked him, how are you able to do this? He's like, well, the first 200 were a pain. And then he's like, I got to systemize it. So it's all systemized now. So it's like, okay.
I mean, even with a really good system in place, that seems like an incredible number.
It's a lot of questioning. So he's basically asking the questions, and the guest is doing all the work of,
Of course, yeah.
So I think it was pretty cool. Really awesome guy to talk with.
So is this leading to you asking a final amazing question that you learned from him?
I don't know. I wish. He did manage to get Gary Vaynerchuk on his podcast. And
brilliant.
If you probably heard of Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. He's everywhere.
He's everywhere now. And I was like, wow, this guy is on point. Like last year, so I started my podcast last year, and it was after I had finished reading his book. And I was like, all right, I've got to make a change. I've got to make a move, because if I don't, it's on me, right? It's nobody else's fault. It's my fault. And
absolutely,
one of the reasons I'm like pushing myself and building this content and, just getting out there.
It's fantastic, Junaid. And I've been doing the same thing. Like, in fact, today I just posted on LinkedIn that it's the last day of January. Here are some of the things I've done this month. And it's all because even though 2018 was a massive year for me, starting my own business and having such a great start, I was still guilty of making too many plans, but not taking enough action to make them happen.
Yeah.
I really wanted to change that. And I've just done it. So January has been just amazing. I've probably done as much in January as I did in the last 3 months of 2018, honestly.
Because, right, so as you do more things over time, you get better at it. Like when you first started driving a car, like, all right, let me just focus on the road. Don't play any music. Don't be shaking your hands at the back. Just let me drive.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
I'm just trying to focus. But now, right, after 10 years of driving, you're like, I got this. I don't need to look at the road. Playing music, making a video, whatever it is people do now. It's pretty awesome. And that's,
I hope no one out there listening is making videos while they're driving.
Don't make videos while you're driving unless your phone is already on the outside of your car and you press record.
Well done. There you go. Safety first, people.
Exactly. Safety first. Well, Russ, do you have any question for the audience? Actually, the big question is, where can people find you, and what are you offering, or what can people learn from you?
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for asking. That's people can find me on LinkedIn, and it's just / the / Russ Avery. So if you search Russ Avery, you'll find me on LinkedIn straight away. Awesome. Instagram is at Russ Avery Consulting, and YouTube is Russ Avery Consulting as well. And the second half, like, why should people follow me? So I'm sharing content daily on Instagram about sustainability, marketing, and entrepreneur life, and everything that I'm learning along the way. I do Ask Me Everythings every Friday on Instagram. So definitely get involved on that if you've got any questions for me. So the next one will be tomorrow. On LinkedIn, I share content, I guess, about 5 times a week. Sounds about right. And YouTube is probably about 1 or 2 times a week whenever I've got a new video to upload. So I do interviews called Q&A Avery, where I interview people involved in sustainability, whether it's a sustainability startup or some other kind of company. So my most recent one was with a guy from Bali called Thomas Despan, who's just bought an island off the coast of Indonesia. It's amazing, man. And he's turning it into a sustainable luxury resort. And again, that connection came through LinkedIn, and I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, just saw you're doing this. Let's jump on a call." And
that's so awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Russ. I will be posting all of those links on the show notes for the podcast so people can quickly get to you. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, Junaid.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode on Hacks and Hobbies. We absolutely appreciate your contribution. You can find additional notes on hacksandhobbies.com. Please share the podcast with your friends and tell them what you learned about our guest today.